to Better with Age, the show where time doesn't age us, it refines us. Let's get started with our topic of the day. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 15% of adults aged 60 and over suffer from a mental disorder. The two most common are depression and generalized anxiety disorder. Doctors and psychologists suggest managing your mental health just as you would your physical health by staying active. So, ladies, how do you deal with this, or how, or people you know deal with this
Okay, I just
issue?
would like to add to that, based on the statistics I pulled off of Google, that over 11 million people have a mental disorder
I can believe it.
over 60 years old.
Mm.
11 million people.
Yes.
I try to stay out of that statistic for myself by way of exercise,
Yes.
staying active,
Yes.
and doing as much self-care
Mm.
that I can. And I'm too busy. I have too many things on my calendar to be depressed.
Yes.
Which that helps a lot. Now, sometimes I may overextend myself,
Mm.
which I can get a little down, like, why did I do this? And I have to wheel myself out of
Yes.
it. But it's basically, for me, is meditation, yoga, exercise, drinking and eating healthy foods.
Yes.
Is how I keep myself together.
Yes,
Yeah.
staying active seems like that
Yeah.
would definitely help with depression because you're focusing on something else other than yourself. And that exercise, yoga, stretching are
Absolutely.
prime exercises to help
Right.
you deal with internal things. I worked at a facility where there was a gentleman who was dealing with depression and dementia, and his wife would come into the facility and she would bring him up to the common area, the living area, and sit with him and sing with him. And that you could see his spirit just lift when she would sing, and she would lay her head on his head, and they would just sing, and he would remember every word, and you could see him smiling. And when she would first bring him up, he might not know you or speak, but by the time they went back to the room, he was speaking to everyone. So I
Lucky
thought
man.
that, yes, he was lucky, and I thought that really, that was one instance where I saw that depression being lifted.
And even keeping in mind that, like, there's factual clinical depression,
Yes.
which is
Right.
like a chemical brain change.
Yes.
And today I feel crappy because I didn't get a raise.
Mm.
So it's two separate things, but they're both treated the same way.
Yes.
Maybe you would need meds for either type of depression, but correct, exercise is a huge component to keeping things together, engaging people, making sure you get out of the house, making some kind of schedule up.
Well,
This morning I'm going to do this, this, and this.
Some are people don't even want to go into taking any kind of medication for depression, and it seems like
Right.
you get depressed by thinking about taking medication for depression, or even talking to anybody about it.
I had a girlfriend that suffered from depression, and she came off of her medication. I didn't know she suffered from depression, but 6 months into our new friendship, her personality changed,
Yes.
and she had an episode.
Yes.
And I asked her, I said, "What happened to you?" She said, "I came off my medication." I said, "Well, why did you do that?" "Because I was feeling better." So one thing that I learned about that depression at that time is that you don't know whether or not your medicine is working. Like the person, I can't say I should stop taking this and come off of it when in fact it's keeping me from being depressed.
Yes.
Liken it to
Yeah.
liken it to your cholesterol pill. You have no way of really telling how much cholesterol you have. You go off the pill, wait and see what happens.
Right.
I did know a young lady too that also came
Yeah.
off of her medication, and but we knew she was on medication. But we also
Okay.
knew when she wasn't taking her medication, and that's important too,
Right.
for you to surround yourself with family and friends so people will know if there's a change in your personality on medication.
So how could you tell by her? She was withdrawn. She was not as active. How could you tell?
No, she was active. She cut off all of her hair, and
Oh, my.
didn't know why.
Okay,
And,
she
right,
did
so
things
it was
out of the
kinda-
norm.
yes,
That, like, why would
yes,
you do that? Why did you
yes.
cut off your hair?
Right, and didn't really have a reason for it. So we knew that there was something going on at that time.
Wow, right.
Yeah. So we quickly suggested that she go back to her physician and start getting back on her regimen. And she did. Eventually she did. And it worked out well for her. But I know that there are some people who take a holistic approach, and I'm not sure how you can determine if the holistic approach is better or if the medicine approach is better. I'm not really sure that I know anybody who's taken a holistic approach about
to depression or
depression.
mental illness.
Right.
I don't either. I am holistic, been holistic my whole life, and I'm blessed that I don't have to take medicine for anything. So I would not know how to handle that if I needed to take medication for depression. All I know is to keep fit and healthy mentally. I am exercising and meditation and yoga 2 and 3 times a week for myself, and it makes me feel better. When I actually say when I finish stretching or meditating, wow, that feels good.
Yes.
And I think that keeps me out of the doctor's office.
Taking it out of that like antiquated thought that, oh, you're crazy, oh, there's something off. Like if you had pain in your leg for 6 months and you didn't go to your doctor, everybody around you would think you were foolish.
Right.
You tell somebody you're going to see your psychiatrist, everybody raises an eyebrow, especially as you get a little older. I think younger people are much better at identifying this than we are.
I agree. I remember having a cousin who was always locked up in a room. And I remember a few families having that crazy uncle, or they called it crazy uncle, locked up in a room. And actually it was really just mental illness. And we just did not know what it was called then, or didn't know how to handle it then, or didn't recognize it then. So, some experts say that surrounding yourself with family and friends help when you're dealing with depression. And I can see that because your family and friends hold you accountable to where you are and what you're doing. And they can see changes in you. And they can identify things and possibly help you. I think that would be the best way.
But they do have to understand that they're not there to judge, and nobody wants to hear, hey, cheer up.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a fine line.
Because that's not what it is. If I could cheer up, I would.
Exactly.
Right. Another thing that's popped up in like the last 5 years amongst my friends or clients, anxiety. And a lot with men too. It's not just women. So I did have a male friend. I said, what's wrong? He said, I suffer from anxiety, which I was totally surprised by it. And all I could suggest is to go to the doctor, because I have no idea how to help you if you are spazzing out over something minor. And I'm looking at you like, is that all? Is anything else wrong?
And it's just not that. It's your heart racing. It's headaches. It's GI issues. It's a variety of things. That
Which he didn't say to me. So how would I know that all of that was part of the equation versus I'm feeling nervous?
Well, I know too, also experts say spending time in a volunteer situation helps too. And again, that takes us back to taking the time off of you, or the focus off of you, and spending time doing something else. And it gets the focus off of you. I'm not saying that's a cure, but it helps in some way. Now, our next guest certainly uses these tips by keeping herself fit, active in the entertainment community. We'll be speaking with Suzi Nash of the Women's Film Festival when we return. Welcome back. We have the amazing Suzi Nash here with us today in the studio, and she's going to be talking about the Women's Film Festival and what keeps her active. Well, Suzi, I feel like you do it all. Director, producer, musician, columnist. Isn't that enough to keep you active? But tell us more.
In between that, I fit in some bartending and some
you're making us all feel look bad.
little karaoke here and there.
My goodness. Well, tell us something about your entertainment career.
Well, listen, I've been in the business for quite some time now. Started off, probably the biggest thing was for a number of years, I was the ringmaster on the Bozo the Clown show, as well as one of the associate producers.
Yes, yes.
So, you know, when most people talk about, well, I work with a bunch of clowns, I can actually say that. You know?
Okay.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Oh. So tell us about the Women's Film Festival. How was that founded?
The Women's Film Festival was founded in 2014, and the way it came about, it actually was founded in a bathroom. I think it was the Landmark restaurant. And two women, Fong Nguyen and Lane Marie Williams, were talking about the dearth of places to have women's films screened. I think Lainey had just made a film and was looking for a place to put it. So they started talking and exchanged numbers, and then one of them, I think, had said, like, you know, there should be like a women's film festival where women can have their films screened and meet other women, other filmmakers, and do some networking and all sorts of stuff like that. So that's how it got started.
Okay.
So this show is called Better with Age, and so one of the things that we want to give advice to our viewers about is how can older people get involved in the film industry?
You know, it's kind of the same advice I give to everybody when I'm speaking on panels and things, is just do it. Especially these days.
Just do it.
Just do it, you know, like Nike says.
Yeah.
These days you have, you know, all sorts of incredible equipment that you could get at places like Phillycam, or even using your iPhone.
Yes.
And one of the examples I give is years ago, back when we were still programming on VHS tapes, somebody sent a film and it was called Here Girl. And so put the tape in, started it, and credits rolled, the opening sequence, and then this woman was standing in the camera and she went, "Here, girl!" And this giant dog just bowled her over, and then it was the end. That was the credit, and the credits. And I laughed so hard that I put it in the film festival.
Wow.
And you know, I think the credits were longer than the movie.
Yes.
But this woman had her film in a film festival from something as simple as that. So, you know,
So
just go out.
people just need to just do it. Just get involved, start small, and see where it goes, and then build on that, and come to the film festival
Absolutely.
and learn more there.
Yeah, we have lots of networking opportunities.
Now, so as a seasoned artist, how do you feel about the youth-focused entertainment industry today?
Well, I think that's starting to change because of a couple of things. One, you know, with the whole Me Too movement, you're having a lot of older women who are stepping up to the plate and saying, you know what, we're tired of these films by, for, and about men. We want films that are by, for, and about women. And when you have women in charge, you're going to have a greater range of diversity of all types, of age, of race, of all sorts.
Yes. Okay. So do you find that it's very competitive for women our age to get into this, to audition for this, to find roles for us?
Depending on the roles. I mean, I think that's one of the problems is that women find, you know, at what is a fairly young age that they're being cast as older folks. I think there was some movie, Jessica Biel or somebody who was a fairly young actress got to play somebody's grandmother.
Oh,
she was like,
yeah.
wait, I'm the grandmother in
Yes.
this?
Yes.
But so yeah, it is difficult, but it is certainly possible. And as I said, I think technology is making it easier for everybody to get involved.
I agree.
Since you've been in the business for some time, what changes have you seen?
Some of the changes, well, for one, as a programmer, the way we get films is a lot different.
Yes.
It used to be people would send in VHS tapes, and we would have to go to the office and pick them up, and everybody had to share. You'd have to wait till somebody was finished. Then we went to DVDs, and now it's all digital. So it's great for the filmmakers, and it's great for the ease of watching them sharing the films. It's bad for me because I can't steal the films that I used to. You know, sometimes there will be films, as a programmer, one of the things that's wonderful, there are some really great films that come across your desk that you may not be able to program for one reason or another in the film festival. And then they never get distribution and they never get released, so they're never seen again.
So what would be some of the reasons? What would be some of the reasons that they couldn't get shown?
Just money, finances.
Finances,
A lot of
okay.
times they just
Yeah.
weren't able to find the right
Okay.
connections because so much of it is about connections and luck a lot of times too, and perseverance.
You know, we started out in the previous segment talking about mental health. I looked at your bio, and you are so busy.
Yes.
How do you do the work-life balance? And you're juggling a lot of things, not a lot of different things. How do you find the work-life balance?
For me, actually, I like it because it keeps me busy. I like not being. I get bored with one thing, for too long a period of time. So I always like to mix it up and do different things, and that's actually what keeps me engaged and involved, and especially with the different jobs I do. As I said, everything from hosting karaoke to programming films to being in films to working on films.
Yeah.
I'm interacting with all sorts of people in all different ages.
So you don't feel sometimes that you overextend yourself, that you have like, oh, I did it this time. This is way too much.
This week.
Okay.
Right now we're programmed. We've had over close to 500 submissions for the film festival, and I keep on going through them. And we've got segments of we're like 100 at a time, and I keep on going like, oh my God, I still have more pages to go through of films to click on and watch. So I was
It is
actually up
much
till
to your
5 this
credit
morning.
that you're keeping up with all this
Yes.
rapidly changing technology also.
Right.
So. I mean, it's actually not that difficult. Some of the stuff that I do, anything that's harder. That's why I have nephews and and all the young folks that I work with, which is great because I know nothing about social media. So when I see
Really?
things, no.
Shocking.
Shocking. Right, yeah.
I'm still waiting to figure out how to do Instagram. I have all the accounts.
my
I
goodness.
just don't use them.
Okay.
So we should
But-
go look for you on Instagram. I will.
Don't be
That was
insulted.
going to be my next step. Well,
No,
you
no,
see,
no.
I have the computer.
Well, like I said, I do have the account, but don't be insulted. People always send me Facebook requests,
Yes,
friendship requests. I think I have like 500 requests, and I have maybe like 100
Oh,
people.
you're worse than me.
Oh,
I'm the
wow.
same way. I have so many requests. So, what types of film are you seeing in the Women's Film Festival?
Well, we were speaking. I think you asked about some of the films we've had in the past before, and we've had some really great films. Last year, our opening night film at the Kimmel Center was "This Changes Everything," and it was about women in the film industry. So
Okay.
Gina Davis was one of the producers, and it told some really amazing stories and really tragic stories of what women in the business are going through. I think it was Sharon Stone who was saying there was a producer who
I
said,
saw that.
"Sit on my lap
Yes.
while so you can read the script for the audition."
Yes.
Right.
And it sort of went into a lot of what especially the older actresses have gone through. And then we had Turkeys Done, which was with Sherry O'Terry. I think she was in California, and she was walking down the street, and there was a woman walking her dog, and said, "Hey, baby, you want some water?" And Sherry went, "Wait." Water? Did you just say water? Where are you from? And they said, "Yeah."
Where do you think she's from?
Right, South Philly. And they started talking, and they turned out the woman who was walking the dog, who's a young woman, was a script writer and was producing this movie. And she said, "I have a part that I would love you to do. I don't know if there's any chance at all," because she was a novice filmmaker. And Sherry's like, "Of course, you're Philadelphia."
Wow.
And they did this film, and it was part of our opening night.
Look at that.
Right.
Imagine that.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, and one film we had too was called "You Got Mammed." Speaking of an older woman, and it was her dealing with the first time someone called her ma'am. That was a fun comedy.
I'm starting to get that happen to me.
Yeah.
People are like, I'm like, really?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And
All
then we
right.
had the Peace Agency, which was another beautiful film from Indonesia about this woman who, almost single-handedly, brought all the women of the warring villages together to end this 15 years of cycle of violence that had been happening in the country.
Wow.
And with our film festival, we actually try to do more than just show you the film. We either try to have activists with certain causes there, or in this case, we actually had dancers from this Indonesian dance troupe come and perform
Oh, I
ahead
know
of the
that
dance.
was fantastic.
We have I don't know if you know Cookie Dioria, who's a drag opera singer, came and performed with a film that we had about a female conductor. So we make it very interactive with all sorts of stuff happening.
Thank you so much for joining us in studio today. We all look forward to the film festival. Stay tuned for Better with Age. We'll return after the break.
It's fantastic being here at Better with Age. I hope you'll come out and join us for the film festival, which runs March 14th through the 22nd, and throughout the year, where we have programming like our Wine, Women, and Film program, where we invite women to come out and join your sisters in film and come out and see some films that are directed or starring females or women. And also we have networking programs, we have parties, all sorts of things for you to come out and be a part of it. And if you'd like to volunteer, we always need volunteers. So go to our website at www.thewomensfilmfestival.org and join us.
As we continue to address mental health and wellness practices, we have with us my shug, Steve Twitchell.
Hello.
Thank you for coming, Steve.
Sure.
So Steve, tell us a little bit about your dealings with mental health.
Well, right now I'm currently going to New Brunswick Theological Seminary for a Master's in Divinity and Pastoral Counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also a New Jersey Certified Teacher, K through 5. But prior to that, I was a cop in Kansas City. And back in 2001, I was involved in a situation where there was a home invasion followed by a hostage situation, and unfortunately someone lost their life. And getting PTSD from that situation, like my mental health really went downhill after that. Like initially, like I was shocked, like I couldn't believe that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And in working there, like I always thought, like if something like that happened, like people are you're watching too many movies.
Mm-hmm.
That only happens in TV, but it was.
You thought you could handle it. You
Oh,
thought
sure,
you could just walk away from it.
Absolutely, I thought it was like one of those things. But after that, I was starting to get like I would have nightmares. So I would wake up to this muzzle flash, and was getting to the point where like I was going days and I couldn't sleep. I was totally losing my focus. Like I used to go out with friends all the time, but like I stopped going out, and it got to the point where I even wrote a suicide note. I wrote the whole thing out. It was detailed. I was going to go to a hotel and take a bottle of aspirin and chase it with Jack Daniels, and I was going to do all this when my wife Nancy left for work. And
Did you did you go to the doctors before?
oh, but that, I'll get to that.
Okay.
The thing that really shocked me about it is I wrote this note figuring the whole thing was done.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to put it in an old filing cabinet where no one's going to find it, because when she goes to work the next morning, I'm going to be able to take this note out. So she's going to work the next morning about her business, walks out the door. As she's walking out the door, something catches her eye on the coffee table. She sees some papers like scattered around. She figures, I'm going to help Steve get organized. I'm going to go get him an envelope from the filing cabinet, and he's going to be, I'm going to put all these papers in there. And she goes over, after she already left for work, comes back up, goes into that bedroom that nobody goes into, goes to that exact filing drawer, pulls it out and finds my note.
Divine intervention.
That's what that was.
Okay.
And from there, she called my parents, and they came and got me. I checked myself into 6 days of inpatient, and that was wow. That was
a wow moment.
Last fall at the University of Penn, and when I was there, I met Pastor Edmund T. Sherrill of Mount Enon Baptist Church. He's on 500 Snyder Avenue in South Philadelphia, and this guy is just so dynamic. Meeting someone like him is, one of those. He reminds me of like a football coach who's like so energetic, like every Sunday, like he's one. If anybody ever played sports, he's one of those guys who, when he shows up to a game, he's the difference maker. It's just gonna go well. He's got a smile on his face, and he's just such a hard worker. And what really struck me about him is, even though he's been a pastor for a long time in the city, on the holidays, he's still there on Thanksgiving. He's working. Christmas Day, he's working. New Year's Eve, he's working. And I'm just like, he says, oh yeah, I'll have time with my family, but these people aren't going anywhere. They don't get to go home. So, going to church, and like at times you lose faith, but when you see a pastor working like that.
What are some of the ways that you manage your mental health now since that? Because that's a major incident. to have in someone's life that it sounds like it's taken you a few years to
Sure.
get back to normal. But what are you doing now? And it sounds like maybe there were some things that happened before the house invasion situation. Maybe you were under a lot of stress that it compounded it, that forced the incident. God bless your wife but that was divine intervention.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, for her
Absolutely.
to save your life.
Yeah, I'm a good wife, but I'm not the wife that cleans up before I go to work. Like
Right,
this was
that
a
divine
fluke.
intervention.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now to stay?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I have a counselor, and of all the counselors I've had since '01, and I've seen a lot. The only one I quote the most often is Dr. Lisa Blackburn, and she's in Cherry Hill. This lady
Heard of her.
understands PTSD better than anybody. And she told me something before. She said, when you're feeling depressed or anxious, you can't think your way out of that situation. You have to do something physical and move. But so I was a personal trainer, and my wife and I we coached track and field for a lot of years, and by doing that, a lot of times you might not feel like doing it, but if you don't do something physical, it's amazing how it works. Like I'd be out there, taking a jog when it's pouring rain, or if it's 100 degrees. Like I knew I had to do that.
Get up and move.
Yeah, and if
Makes
not,
you feel good.
yeah, because you can't think your way out of it.
What I hope that our viewers get most from this interview with you, and I thank you for being so open and honest
Sure.
about what your situation is that how fragile we are, how
Yes.
vulnerable we are, how fragile we are, and how a situation can change at a drop of a dime. And this happened in '01, and we're at 2020, and you're remembering bringing up these
Everything.
things.
Yeah,
And
it's a daily struggle.
Yes.
I can honestly
And
say.
how we carry a lot
Yes, we
over
do.
the years, and then like you said, it's that one thing
Yeah.
it's like
So what is your suggestion for those who may be going through PTSD or may think they're going through PTSD? They might not even know. What would you recommend their first step to be?
You got to go to a counselor, and the thing is, there's a lot of bad ones out there, but you just got to keep trying, because Jesus told us there's going to be a lot of false prophets out there.
Yes.
But there's a lot of bad ones, and all this time, I found that we have one or two good ones, but they end up counseling.
And my question, it's more of a statement. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan, as you well know.
Yeah.
But you are the most compliant,
Thank you.
most diligent patient that any practitioner could hope for. If you tell him to take a pill at 2 a.m. and do 300 push-ups, he would do that.
Good.
But there are so many people out there that have this and that are untreated and wander among us lost daily that don't have his
Yes.
discipline.
tenacity.
Yes.
And discipline.
That's one.
Well, we're
What
so
about that?
glad that you're doing better.
Yes,
We're so
yes,
glad,
yes,
and thank you
yes,
for
yes.
coming on the show and sharing that story. That's going to help a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I
A lot
hope
of
so.
people. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on this show, Better with Age. We really touched on a very sensitive topic, and we hope you got something out of it. Find out more about us by going to our website, www.primeactmedia.com, and we'll see you next time.